You have an All-American running back, Taj Brooks. I don't even care if you're the fifth string running back. Why did you get a scholarship at Tech? Because you're a running back who knows how to hold on to the ball in all these violent collisions. You're not Opie trying to run back into the line. He fumbles, TCU wins. I think that was on Coach Joey McGuire. Step into the Fieldhouse, your front row seat to legendary victories and untold stories. Hey, I'm your host, Lance Lahnert, breaking down sports from the inside out, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey. It's more than just a game. It's the Fieldhouse Podcast. Hey, welcome into the Fieldhouse Podcast. It's a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. We always like to mention that. And I'm your host, Lance Lahnert, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey, CEO, main man there at Kids Inc. Jimmy, what's the best thing that happened to you today? When we're taping this, let's be fair, it's still early in the day, but what is the best thing?
So today's Halloween.
I know.
Okay?
Yeah.
And
you're a Halloween guy?
No, I never was, but
grandkids
change it, yeah. and my middle daughter ended up having to get married on Halloween, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
So there was this thing called COVID.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, I remember COVID.
So my birthday's September 3rd. It was on a Thursday that year, and Kennedy and Luke are scheduled to get married Saturday, September 5th. Guess who gets COVID on his birthday?
You do. They postponed their wedding because of your COVID?
Yeah. Well, that was back when you had to spend 14 days in a room by yourself.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
It was new, and you were quarantined into a room.
Wow.
Yeah, so they pushed it back, and the first day that was available that worked for everybody, for them mainly, was Saturday, the 31st of October, and so today is their fourth wedding anniversary.
Well, if you're the male in that situation, famous for forgetting anniversaries,
yeah,
you're not going to forget that one.
No, definitely.
So,
not.
Did they have any theme at all with Halloween?
No, zero. No,
good.
No,
absolutely. I applaud that.
No, absolutely not.
Halloween. If I was the bride and I show up and it's a Halloween theme, I'm like, I would reverse.
Yeah, no, I'd
get out
of
there.
There was not even any discussion of Halloween that night.
That's good.
Of course, still back then it was,
Yeah, we were still in it.
The only people that came were the people that were dared enough to come because you were still doing all the safe space and all that kind of stuff.
It's amazing how our minds think back. So all those photos of that era. You can date photos on social media when you see them with masks on. Yeah. You know what I mean?
A wedding was a super spreader. And you didn't.
Yeah.
It was.
I'll never forget the super spreader. They had a press conference at CISD, and you have people just standing. They had these little placemats that you had to stand on. So there's like 10 people in there. Yeah. It was like, wow, we're back in kindergarten lining up. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
it was.
It was crazy.
But having grandkids.
That's interesting.
So Jayla and Seth, our oldest daughter and son-in-law, when they had kids, we started going to their house for Halloween, and where they live, there's tons of trick-or-treaters.
That's cool.
And so it's really fun. We sit at their house. Jayla always makes some kind of soup, and we eat soup and sit out there and watch everybody come by. And so that's what we'll do tonight. And
I love safe Halloween.
It's always fun.
The trunk or treat was a great idea. So what is the best thing that happened to you today, though?
You got me. I actually got to see my wife and visit just for a split second this morning. That's not most mornings. She leaves early, and I wait for her to kind of clear the space and let her have her time in the bathroom before I go in and get showered up and everything. But actually crossed paths a little bit this morning. That was a rarity. So, even though it may just be a hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
In the mornings, mornings are not social time for us. It's get up, get out. So. Got to at least say hi to her this morning.
That is cool. Yeah. That is very cool. Yeah, I love that. All right, hey, this is our 27th podcast. We hope you're enjoying it. We always remind you, if you have any guests you would like us to bring in, we want that. And I'm hearing some guests out there, so we'll try to track down a couple of those and get them in here. But we have a tradition now. Number 27, when you think of 27, who hits you?
I really had, I'm being honest with you, I had to get the book out. I told you about the book last week. And then it started, things started coming back to me. But 27 is not a number that is real popular, and you have to think for it. But I knew when I read it, I knew who yours was going to be.
Yes.
Steve Atwater.
Exactly.
I knew immediately the old Bronco was on there. Kenny Houston played with the Oilers, then played with the Redskins. When I saw that one, I remembered him. Carlton Fisk, I forgot about him.
Carlton Fisk, I'm sure Red Sox fans, that's a fond number for a lot of people.
Forgot about him being one. Catfish Hunter.
Yeah, didn't know that.
Was a 27. So, yeah, there was Irv Cross, the old broadcaster.
Did not know that,
Wasn't he an Eagle when he played for the Eagles?
Played for the Eagles, yeah.
So
original CBS broadcaster.
Yeah.
So who is yours? Who is the guy?
On this list, probably Terrell Buckley. Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He was pretty good.
I told you before the show when you were mentioning, you just brought up Terrell, but so I'm covering the Amarillo Dillas, in the Texas-Louisiana League. The Mobile Bay Sharks show up. This is independent ball. He's trying to make it in baseball as Florida State, you know what I mean? But he was on Mobile Bay Sharks, and he was way smaller than you think, and he was way faster than you would ever imagine in person.
Yeah,
he could fly.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of bizarre seeing him there. Yeah, back there he had the grill, the gold grill. So you're in Amarillo, you don't see a lot of those, and I was like, okay,
yeah.
Do your thing.
You gotta love minor league ball. I mean,
and you know what's cool when they're in minor league ball, they're not talking football. He actually wanted to talk baseball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if I asked, I learned. Like I asked him a football question and he just shut down.
You're done.
You know what I
You're
mean? Yeah. But baseball, he just lit
Kind
up.
of like asking Bobby Knight about his wife.
Yeah.
You got shut down.
Yeah, I got shut down. That was a legit question.
It was a great question. She was a good coach.
She was coaching the All-Stars between Oklahoma and Texas. And I tried to just bring it in. I did a little homework, and he's like, no. So, yeah, I love that. So, but, my 27 is Steve Atwater. Obviously, Bronco fans love him. Legendary safety. Still does a lot of work with him in the media or the interview areas live. If you ever go to a Broncos game, he's the guy on the field where they do like a live interview over the big screens before the game, kind of saying, hey, here's what I think is going to happen. So it's kind of cool. But he has that legendary hit with Christian Okoye, the
running back from
Nigerian Nightmare, and just blasted in. But,
that was a big boy.
That was a big boy.
Wow.
That was a big boy. So, hey, speaking of Halloween, when you were growing up, you go out trick-or-treating, what candy bar or what piece of candy had to be in that bag or you had a bad Halloween?
Okay, so when you said that last week, I could have spit it off right then.
Yeah.
We had an elderly lady that lived 3, 4, 5 houses down from us. It was an old teacher and retired. I shouldn't say old teacher. She was a retired teacher. Sweet lady, Miss Hadley, lived by herself. She gave out nickels. Now, I'm talking late 60s, early 70s.
She gave out nickels?
She gave out nickels.
Wow.
Man, we'd think about how could we change costumes so we can go back to Miss Hadley's house again and get another.
So that was a
nickel.
popular house to go to?
Yeah.
Wow, you still remember her name and everything.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Nickels,
I could see her face, but she gave out nickels.
Wow.
A nickel was a lot of money back to a kid,
that's cool.
Young kid back then. And
you could go buy a few things.
When my dad ran swimming pools in the summer, they used to have nickel night, and the banks would donate rolls of nickels, and they'd throw all the nickels in the pool.
And you go dive.
And everybody lined up around the pool, and it was dive time, and you go scrape nickels off the bottom of the pool. And so, I'm aging myself here, but
yeah,
a nickel was pretty cool. If you had 5 or 6 nickels in your pocket, you had some money.
I mean, a piece of gum was a penny.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Exactly.
So it was a big deal. It was a big deal. Yeah,
it was.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Miss Hadley's house.
So my mom used to dress up like a witch when we were in Kansas, and she would make this big. My dad had put dry ice behind it or whatever they figured out that time. It might have been just smoke, you know what I mean, from something. And she'll say we'd make a big batch of
witch's brew.
Yeah, but it was whatever was in there, and she would just stir it up. You know what I mean? It'd be hot chocolate. You know what I mean? So they would come in and just.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was awesome. She loved doing that. I mean, I'll never forget that.
I probably never had a creative Halloween costume. I was sucked at that kind of stuff. I had buddies that were creative, but I never was.
Yeah, one time I dressed up, and I wasn't totally naked, obviously, but the man from Glad, so we wrapped me in all this Glad paper. But you know what? You can't breathe in it.
Yeah.
So I'm like dizzy, almost, like suffocating.
You know Sean Reed?
So they had to cut it off. You know what I mean?
Sean Reed?
Yeah.
Used to be principal at
Yeah.
Highland Park now.
Now he's at Boys Ranch. Yeah.
You know what he did at Highland Park?
No.
They had a United Way fundraiser for the kids, and he told them if they raised X amount of dollars, they could duct tape him to the telephone pole during the football game. First or second quarter, paramedics had to come get him down. He was out. I mean, he passed out because he couldn't breathe.
Oh yeah.
Wow. And he was off the ground
never
like
knew that
7 or 8.
story
Oh
about
yeah,
him.
7 or 8. I grew up with Sean. He's a little younger
Yeah.
than me, but yeah.
Okay.
He was out. They had to get the ambulance out there and everything.
Is that right?
That's a true story.
Yeah, I was like, so
when you said that, I was like,
don't be the man from Glad.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't do that stuff.
Yeah, it suffocated me literally, and I was like, oh my gosh. So yeah, so I wasn't real creative. My mom did some pretty good stuff. We would do a thing where you put on these big baggy pants. You'd be a pirate, okay? So your leg would hide behind in the pants.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you had a crutch, and so you were actually on a wooden stick. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And it looked pretty good. I mean, if you just looked like, where is his leg? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
the stuff they come up with now is incredible.
the stuff now is
It's incredible.
insane. Yeah. You don't go dress up anymore?
No, but I sure love going and watching my grandkids do their thing.
Okay, yeah. Hey, it's World Series time. The Dodgers clinched last night as we're taping this in 5 games at Yankee Stadium and on the road. Yankees blew a 5-0 lead, so you can't feel too sorry for them because of their defensive lapses. But is the World Series, like when we were growing up, they would, like in my elementary, they would roll in a black and white TV, about a 12-inch TV on it, and you could watch it. You know, it was that big of a deal.
Right.
Do you think the World Series is still a big deal? And my question for you, do we need to have it a little earlier so it doesn't end at 11 o'clock at night and little kids can experience the celebration of a champion?
Probably so. We've talked about it running into November, and it tried to. Yankees had an opportunity to make that happen, and fifth inning they just fell apart. But here's what the World Series started on college football weekend, NFL weekend, and I'm sorry, at this time of year, that's where I'm going to be.
In football?
Yeah.
Mode, yeah.
And so if I can catch the ball game a little later, or it's on at a time when there's not a football game, I might switch over. But by this point in time, I'm tuned in for football. And we talked about the marketing aspects of it as well. They're getting out hustled a little bit on the baseball side. In my opinion, I think professional baseball is getting out hustled by some other sports. And until they do something about that, they're going to have to shift. They're going to have to shift their paradigm a little bit. And but I did. I sat down to watch it last night and thought, wow, we're gonna have another game. And man, it fell apart fast. And then they got the lead again. They went back up 6-5, and then Dodgers got those runs. But kudos to the Dodgers. Their stud didn't have a great World Series.
Oh no. Shohei Ohtani, no, he struggled,
and so
obviously he was hurt. But you're right.
They were the dominant team.
And during the World Series, you learn a little bit about the players. You're right on the marketing thing. If you watch NFL or you watch college football, you always get a tearjerker or a emotional story being told before you even watch a game. A feature.
It'll change your mind about an individual.
It will.
Yeah.
It will. Yeah. And Freddie Freeman's one of those with his 3-year-old boy who almost passed away this summer, and he dealt with all that and things like that. So, and they told that story during the World Series. But I'm with you. They got to market it better. It's still a wonderful game. Speaking of the game, fans, with the money we're paying now, we want to somehow be more part of the game than ever.
Yep.
And in the first game, you saw it. Mookie Betts goes over the wall, and that fan he's got the ball. One fan grabs his wrist. Yep. The other one is actually prying open his glove and grabs the ball out of it. You know what I mean? And those two fans, season ticket holders, been planning it for years, as they said in Sandlot. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But and they were proud of this. They got high-fived and all that. They did not let him back in the stadium last night. The cool thing is, I don't know if you saw that. Speaking of stories, the Yankees gave those 2 tickets to a young boy and his mom who had cancer.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, the boy, they had invited him during the season to a game to meet everybody, but he got so sick they couldn't go to the game, so they invited him. They gave those 2 tickets to. So the Yankees did the right thing.
That's good stuff.
But what about fan interference? What about fan participation now? It's more evident than ever, and they were actually they were being sincere in only New York fans fashion as they can be.
Yeah.
But they said, "Hey, we're trying to help the Yankees win." That was our.
Yeah.
We had been planning that for years. Anything happened like that, we were getting that ball out of there.
Okay, so the Lambeau leap.
Yeah.
That's kind of where a lot of that stuff started, but that's 5-10 yards off the playing surface. To me, that's the architect's problem. The architects got to understand you got to fix it where the fan can't interfere with a play. Now down the foul lines, that could be tough sometimes. I don't know if that's a net that you need to put up or some kind of divider there. But when you build those stadiums so close, that's going to happen, and especially in the outfield. I mean, my gosh, who doesn't want to catch a home run ball?
I agree.
You know, I didn't catch one, but it came to me one time at a ball game.
Yeah, I think you have to obviously penalize them like they did, but make sure everybody knows what happened. Like you just lost a $1,700 ticket.
Yep.
You were there 1 inning. I hope you're happy about that. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. So I don't think there's any place for it. If somebody ever gets hurt, that's going to be the worst part of it.
The liability police to me, that's what I was just fixing to say. You better think about those things too.
I appreciate the enthusiasm for fans like that. That's what makes fandoms.
Yeah.
You know, that's why they're called fans. But in New York, it's just going to be different, you know.
But if
they didn't seem drunk or anything like that. I'm just going to tell you right now.
No. But if those stands were 5 or 10 foot back and the ball comes to them there.
Yeah.
Man.
Hey, the Lambeau leap, though, you're bringing on the love.
Yeah.
You're leaping in yourself.
But it's away from the playing field is my point.
Yeah.
And
I love the Lambeau
that
leap.
outfield, it's right there.
Yeah. This year, the Sod Poodles, just as a reference to this, all minor league teams had to have fence or netting put up all the way to the end of the outfield.
Yep.
My half-season tickets happened to be like right where the net wasn't, and it was cool to watch it. It's not safe for any kids because everybody's on their phone and all that. But I didn't like it. I didn't like the net up there. I'll have to admit that. But for safety reasons, I love the net.
I do like the net.
No,
I have no depth perception.
Yeah,
and things coming at me fast, I'll do this, and it's 50 feet away, and I look like an idiot. But I will tell you this. We went to a Rockies game one time, and we were on probably row 20 behind first baseline, behind the dugout. And I saw a lady take a foul ball. And she was an elderly lady, right to the temple. And, I mean, they had to come get her and get her out. The net, those type things.
The net, was there not a net up?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. And
no, I agree.
You're talking to a guy that got his eye put out, when he was young, and those things, they spook me.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that happen to anybody else.
Anybody getting, I'm okay with it. Yeah, I will say that. Speaking of phones, I just thought of this. So I forgot my phone today. You know what I mean? And I'm like, calm down. You know what I mean? Like, you freak out. Should I drive back and get it? I left it there. And I have another meeting after this. So I'm going to try it for a half day without a phone.
We'll go to lunch periodically. Craig and I go to lunch a lot together, and those days I'll eat and I go, I don't have my phone. And it's kind of nice. Those are nice lunches because I don't have to worry about anybody.
Tell me why we're so attached to these dadgum phones. We lived an entire life without it.
I don't know, Maddie, why are we attached to phones?
Habits of communication.
Yeah.
Like you can't survive without it.
There you go. She's saying that you don't think you can survive without that thing because everybody's communicating with you all the time, and I think that's just it.
Yeah, Maddie's a lot younger than us, but I'm a little addicted to it. I've decided just right now that I'm gonna try
Good for you.
I'm gonna try to back off that because when I look at the time that they say you're on the phone, I'm like, no way, and then.
Turn your phone on black and
Okay. Will do. Turn it on black and white. I will do that.
Yeah.
Kind of takes away the
Addiction.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try this. But I've got to get away from that phone. But because I lived a whole life without it, it's okay. Maybe my first strategy is this. I'm going to put it in the back seat when I drive so I can't get to it, okay?
So I'm looking. You don't wear an Apple Watch.
No.
See,
my wife does.
That's my downside.
My wife does.
This thing's buzzed me 5 times since we've been sitting here.
I tell you what, and when it starts talking like we're just having a cat, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Turn that thing off. You know what I mean?
Now, mine's on silent, but
Yeah.
it's buzzed 5 times since we've sat here. And so
Anyway, phone, I mean, anybody want to talk to us about phones, we're all into that. But, a little too much addiction. I think that's something I've got to get away from. But I was just thinking about that. Yeah. So, because I'm not going to go back and get it. I'm going to go to this other meeting without it, and we'll see what's on it.
Good for you.
It's emergencies, they're awesome. Let's face it.
Yeah.
But I don't have to answer 3 minutes after I get a text.
Here's what I'm pretty sure of.
What's that?
I don't think there's anything on this earth that can't survive without me. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, in other words, I'm really not that important.
Yeah.
And so whether
I
I have a phone with me or not is not going to be life or death for somebody else. I don't think.
And not to get religious on everybody, but I was thinking. Here's what I was thinking. This is kind of crazy thought, but not crazy. But why not maybe spend that time, maybe reading a few verses in the Bible or something? Maybe try that for just a little while. You know what I mean? Saying you read all these just kind of get lost in the scroll world. You know what I mean? So why not take that time and try to make it more productive? Productive for me is really learning knowledge from smart people, the Bible, things like that.
I had dinner with Father Tony last night, and I told him, I said, I need a calendar. I said, do you have a calendar that you use? Because Catholics, there's all kinds of days. Tomorrow's All Saints Days, and so I want to be read up on those type things, and I want to be ready for them. And he sent me a link to a calendar last night, and I downloaded it. And not only did it have a calendar, but it had 5 pages by day. This one had 5 pages of just what you're talking about, little verses, little words of encouragement, things of that nature. And man, would my time be better spent doing that than thumbing through.
Yeah, and we're not trying to be holier than thou here, but it's just a suggestion. If you're kind of like me, caught in that scroll world, why not maybe put it down and say, hey, I'm not going to scroll for the next 30 minutes. I'm going to do this.
I'm hooked on videos. I get on Facebook, and I like to watch all those funny videos. It'd probably be better use of my time to read some of this other. That's my point.
My wife's the same way. She loves animal talking videos.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she loves those. And I'm like, okay. But they are funny.
They are. Oh, yeah. I get a kick. And everybody needs a little laughter in their life, too. But
speaking of laughter, the Cowboys are the laughing stock of the NFL right now, Jimmy. We're in the state of Texas. There's so many hardcore Cowboy fans, but I've never seen a frustration level before Halloween, this past week, as I have now. And maybe I'm not tapped in as much, but they're almost like this season's over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm watching the game Sunday night, and our family has a fantasy league, and so I'm playing Luke's brother Connor. It's 107.8 to 107.86.
Wow.
He's got Deebo Samuel, and I've got CeeDee Lamb, and we're going into the third quarter, and that's the only players we got left. Neither one of us had anything for Monday night, and all of a sudden, CD gets 2 wide open touchdowns. Thank goodness, because that's how I won that game. But they didn't have a chance, and then all of a sudden they had a chance.
Yeah.
And they still. But you dig yourself. They dug themselves a hole so deep you couldn't get out of it fast enough.
What about for the season? I mean,
I think it's the same situation.
What about Cowboy fans? Give them some words of wisdom.
I don't have it because the things that I think people would like to control, we can't control.
Yeah. It's too bad. I mean, I think the Cowboys. There's some teams that need to be good in sports. The Cowboys are one of those that make it relevant. You know what I mean? You either love to hate them or love to love them, and that's the Cowboys. to a T, like very few teams.
It's like the Yankees.
The old Yankees, it's not as much with kids today, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think they like the hat.
I think the brand. I still think the brand.
The brand is legit.
Still think
our era, yeah.
I
Still the Yankees.
still think the Yankees brand is just as dominant as the Cowboys brand in terms of the brand.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. And the history and all that.
I think players and people and all that, definitely changed and not as relevant. But
anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I mean, I've never seen a frustration this early.
The Lakers, in the NBA, the Lakers, the brand is still a big piece of history with the NBA, and you can go on all the sports. But.
And hockey, for hardcore hockey fans, the old sweater, they call them the sweaters, like the Blackhawks look.
Chicago Blackhawks.
The Bruins, the Detroit, Red Wings.
Those old brands, they're still strong.
Yeah.
People change, but the brands don't.
Hey, a couple of things here I wanted to ask you about. Obviously, our very first podcast had Leslie Broadhurst, and we would be remiss not saying that his service will be tomorrow as we speak. Mm-hmm. He passed away earlier this week, and of the brain tumor. And what were your thoughts? What are your thoughts?
Prayers out to Heather and the family. I mean, I told Heather a day or two ago that all of us watched how she cared for him. She was a trooper in this mix too, and Leslie was a real trooper. He fought this thing with grace and shared his story with everybody along the way. He was kind enough to come on and be on our first podcast and talk about it. And you and I are both open books, and to have another open book at the third wheel on the table that day was fun.
Yeah,
and those are the kind of guys that they come along. Pretty few and far between. What I loved about Leslie the most is it doesn't matter who was in the room, you could always count on him for a good joke.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, he could just pull them out of his pocket. And you're not going to see many 36-year tenured coaches at one school anymore. That just those things don't happen. And he had good years. He had some years that weren't so good, but he weathered that storm too. But I think his greatest victory was how he fought this cancer, and he and Heather shared that very publicly, and let people know how you're supposed to handle that. And, in my world, and I think your world and several others, they trusted the Lord, and they let Him lead the way, and their whole family handled it with a lot of grace and a lot of courage.
Yeah, I agree. I think the point with Heather is very well taken. She was a trooper in that thing. And here's the thing about Leslie Broadhurst. You go through life, and some people just live life easy. It looks like.
Yeah.
And he was one of those guys.
Yeah.
You never saw him just like totally. I mean, I saw him after some tough losses. I saw him after losing a regional tournament, maybe at the regional tournament, like maybe it was the fifth time they had been there, and once again, I'm not going to state.
Yep.
And he was bummed, but it wasn't like, I'm going to go jump off the cliff and things like that, like some coaches. But I'm not sure I've ever met a man who lived life, made it look easy, is what I'm going to say. Yep. It's never easy. It's just not. I get that. I do get that. But I'm just so proud of him. But also the way he did handle this, never like, God, why me?
Nope.
Which I would have done right away, I have to admit. And that was not what he was. He has a plan. Here's the plan. I'm riding with it. Yep. You know what I mean? So
Leslie was one of those. He knew the sun was coming up the next day, every day.
Yeah. And he was a heck of a coach, a heck of a mentor to other coaches and players. So we just want to thank you, the Broadhurst family, for Leslie's life and letting him come on. And that'll be something we'll always be very proud of, was the Fieldhouse Podcast, as that Les was our first guy.
Yeah, hands down. And, and I'm going to shout out kudos to Canyon ISD and to Randall High School, how they handled all of this with him too, and they honored him so well. And Panhandle Sports Hall of Fame, what a great call!
Yeah.
That was to get him in where he could enjoy it.
Yeah.
And savor that moment. And
next week he will actually go. It was already done.
I saw that.
Going into the Canyon ISD Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And that was a long time ago. I happened to be on that committee, and but that was a decision.
So everybody involved, and I'll tell you what was really nice to see too. And if you followed Leslie and Heather on Facebook, all the people that went to visit, and old friends, and players, and coaches, and the people that stopped in to check on him. I mean, that's when you know.
Yeah, you're the real deal.
You've lived a life well done, and because all the material things come and go, but the relationships with people are what's most important, and there was a plethora of those that came to check on Leslie throughout this whole ordeal.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you got to admit, if you're in that condition, you're not yourself. You're skinny as all get out. You don't look like yourself, and yet he let that happen. Where I know some people, and a good friend of mine did this. Like in a situation like that, 3 months out, he locked himself in a room, said, I don't want to see anybody.
Yep.
And I respect both of them,
Sure.
okay?
Sure.
But Leslie did let a lot of people come in and get in that world. So we want to just say rest in peace.
And that's great comfort to those people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, his service will be, as we're taping this, tomorrow and at First Baptist. And I'm definitely going to be up there in the back. I'm not a great funeral guy. Are you?
No, I'm not.
I respect people who are able to really hug the families. Just kind of make it special. But I'm not any good at that. You know what I mean? So I just kind of show up, make sure I sign the book because I want them to know I was there out of respect.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
Hey, a couple more things before we hop out of here today. Gary Barnett was my high school coach. I at Air Force Air Academy High School, but he was on my show, Jimmy, and Colorado will be in Lubbock next week as we speak. But he says, Jimmy, there's going to be a Super 40 conference. Okay, within 3 years, we're going to have 40 college football teams, and Colorado doesn't have the money to fit in that. He's being honest about that.
Oh, wow.
Colorados of the world. He said Tech is right on that 40 level because of the money they do have. But he says that will happen, the scuttlebutt going around, that, and he's inside that. Let's face it. He lived it. But he thinks there's going to be a Super 40 conference, so we're going to have a little NFL in college, and then the rest of the college football world will go back and play the game like we love it.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Something needs to occur to give those, whatever you want to call them, sub-level schools a place. Because right now there's too many of those places. You've got this, you got the Power 4, Power 5, whatever you want to call them, and then you've
Power
got
4 now.
And exactly. And you got schools. I'm going to just throw out schools. You've got the Tarletons, the Stephen F's, the Sam Houstons, and those, and then I'm going to throw WT in there. That are kind of on the cusp of being, do we go here or we stay here? If you can get a place where everybody belongs, and then form it to where it's, I really like the discussion we had with one of our guests about the regional, make those regions really strong and mean something so that those 8 regions are the playoffs. Yeah. And it can be done. Yeah. And college presidents are going to be the key to that on the college level.
Yeah, it's a money thing, obviously.
Sure,
they follow the money, so these major programs do. But it's going to be sad, but I see it coming down, and we'll have new conferences, even as we have them now. Obviously, the SEC will not want to lose their brand. And I don't think you'll lose the brands of the conferences or the schools. But he like Coach Barnett was just like, yeah, it's going to happen. Okay, just deal with it. You know what I mean? Right now, it's the wild, wild west with the NIL and the portal. Like by that, I mean nobody has a grip on it. Nobody's controlling it. Nobody knows what to do. However, did you see the UIL yesterday? One of the schools that has beaten Randall, a matter of fact, the last 2 years in the state championship or at state basketball, they reprimanded the girls program. They had 18 transfers this year. Ooh. So they have suspended the coach, and they have suspended the program from the playoffs, I think, for the next 2 years. I don't want to say
for recruiting?
Yeah, totally.
Wow.
Totally recruiting and, that they aren't doing things right. So that's, That I think we're going to see stuff like that. But that's what I'm saying. They're trying to get a grip on this. It's out though. It's the genie out of the bottle. It's the toothpaste out of the bottle. You can't get it back in completely.
Right. Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah,
but
that's really
mark our
interesting.
words here. I trust Coach Barnett big time because he talks to presidents. He talks to the people who know.
Yep.
But he also said it's all about this money. This is what the money wants to get done. They want a super conference of 40 teams and play college football.
That's going to get political too. 'Cause
that 40 to 45.
And what I'm fixing to say is probably wrong, but I can remember when this conversation was happening, when the Big 8 and the Southwest Conference were kind of going to form this Big 12 conference. And I can remember people saying, and I was working at WT at the time, that Ann Richards, our governor, had a lot to do with Baylor getting in the Big 12. And she put a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah.
Because they were kind of like you're talking about Tech being on the cusp. I think Baylor was on the cusp where they were going to be in or out. And that's what I mean by getting political. You know, you get some powerful folks involved.
Yep.
You know, and she wielded a big stick back in those days. And
Fair enough.
You know, and she was very instrumental in making sure that Baylor got in that Big 12. And
But come on, Jimmy, don't be naive. You know, you're not.
I am.
No, you're not. I mean, it's that way already.
Oh, it is.
You know,
100%.
Yeah. But the money will talk on that. And I was shocked when he said Colorado will not be one of those 40. They don't have the money.
Wow.
Yeah.
I got a lot of it right now.
Well, Dion has a lot of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Hey, last one for you today, and this is off the cuff, but what's the best football game you've ever seen? You've ever witnessed?
Firsthand?
Personally, yeah.
It was a high school ball game. It was a little chilly, but it was when the Hodges boys played
Friendship.
Oh,
wow,
at
that's a
Kimbrough
great
State.
one.
That was my dad and I. It was the best football game. My dad even got into it. Dad's an old coach. You know, he usually just sits there and picks it apart.
Yeah.
What a ball game.
Yeah.
You know, it was Kendall Briles was with Friendship, and Cody and
Slade
were over there at Hereford, and golly, what a football game that was! Man, what a football game that was!
Yeah.
And to see, and here's the best part for me was to see the respect between the two teams after the game. They knew it was a hard-fought bloodbath, and the Briles and the Hodges are out there hugging one another. I mean, it was just good stuff, but it was a great football game.
Yeah.
In person, for me, best football game I've ever seen.
Wow, I saw that. That was a great one. I mean, I love that one. Kimbrough Memorial Stadium, and during that game, it was almost like anything you can do, I can do better.
Yep.
You know, they were going back and forth, and there was one play where it might have been Hodges was actually running, broke open, and Briles was playing safety, I think, as well.
He was.
And there they are out there in the field alone. These two guys have just played amazing. That's kind of my memory of it.
Yep.
And they're going one-on-one for us all to watch. Yeah.
Oh, it was a chess match.
That was great. My greatest one to ever see was Texas A&I and the old Texas A&M, now they're Kingsville, and the West Texas A&M Buffs down in Kingsville.
We were down 21-6 at half.
21-6 at half. WT wins 54-49. They score on all 7 possessions of the second half. This was, I think, Kingsville was either 1 or 2 in the nation. But Kingsville had 2 NFL running backs, A&I did. Johnny Bailey and Heath Sherman. Yeah.
Yep.
Todd Mayfield was the quarterback. I'll never forget the game. And then after, Bill Kelly was the coach. The only reason it stopped is Johnny Bailey, who played for the Bears, it was like on a second down. It's not like the clock stopped the game. It was the down stopped the game. Yeah. And WT got.
Well, didn't we hold them on the goal line at the end of the ball game?
Yeah, it was like about at the 4-yard line or something. It was a swing past him.
Yeah.
Johnny Bailey 1-on-1. So, but they threw out all the
I can
plays.
tell you exactly where I was when that game was happening because I wasn't at the game. Believe it or not, back then I had a DJ set up. I was doing it. I was doing an event.
Are you spinning records?
I'm listening to a ball game.
Okay.
I'm spinning records, 45s.
Okay.
Yeah, true story.
Wow.
Oh yeah, true story. But I can remember where I was.
Did you have your DJ voice on and everything?
No,
Okay.
I just played music. Lord no. But no, they just wanted music. They didn't want anybody interrupting them. So, but that's where I was that when that game was going on, and I would make announcements because it was a WT event, and it was on campus, and so I would make announcements and then people want to know what the game was doing because that second half was just boom, boom,
it was
boom,
crazy.
boom.
Big plays on both sides,
Yeah, one of my very best friends, Gerald Welch, was tied in on that team. And
So,
so
you've heard all the stories.
Coach Kelly got his knee bashed open.
I happened to be on a tight deadline, so I'm on the field. Kevin Long is in the end zone, and JB, he was doing the broadcast.
Okay.
Anyway, and Kevin, has his camera there. He's waiting to do like an interview afterward, and this fight breaks out. It really does. But JB on the broadcast, Kevin's running in to try to get a shot, and JB saying,
as Kevin would.
Yeah. But he says, "Oh, here comes Kevin Long trying to join the fight." You know what I mean? But so I happened to be right by Kelly because I had to get a quick quote for this deadline. Kelly, and he gets kind of mad at the linebacker in practice the next week. But one of the A&I grabs a WT guy's helmet and hits him on the knee. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a true story. But here's the story. So I wrote in my story that Kelly gets knocked to the ground, you know what I mean, by this helmet. Kelly that next Monday calls me in when I'm at practice, and they have the film of they obviously have the film of this fight. That's why they were able to discipline who they did. But he goes, if you look at it, am I down? My knee is like an inch off the ground. That's
Coach
Bill
K.
That was Coach K to a T. Oh yeah, he was mad because I said, how close are you? He goes, I didn't go down though, did I? No. But a little behind the scenes story, and I'm sure Gerald has told you this. Kelly was so upset, you know what I mean? And he could be fiery.
Oh.
They had just won the biggest game of their career at that time. And he goes, okay, boys, do your thing on this locker room.
Yep.
And they trashed that locker room.
Yep.
They beat the living heck out of it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
and,
do.
And I don't know if they even got a fine.
I don't know.
But anyway, yeah.
Tell you.
I'll never forget that. And then I rode the plane home with him, and it was an emotional time.
Yeah. Coach Kelly became a really good friend of ours. He and my wife really hit it off. My wife had his son at school, and Coach Kelly would tell you his son tended to get in a little bit of trouble from time to time, and Kim had a good relationship with this kiddo, and so Coach Kelly really appreciated her. So Kim and I were trying to buy our first house. We had offered this guy, we were renting a house, and we'd offered him $70,000 for this house, and he didn't want to sell it. So we signed a year's lease. And about 8 months in, I get a knock at the door, and it's a realtor letting me know that my landlord has gone bankrupt and that we have the right of first refusal to purchase the house, and we had X amount of days to get it done. So I just called Coach Kelly. He got that house out of the bankruptcy court for us for $57,000, which Kim and I have only lived in two houses. We sold it for $170 years later.
Nice.
Took all that money and put it down on our new house. But Coach Kelly is to get the credit.
Get the credit
for that. He did us a big favor, but he went and got that thing out of the bankruptcy court for us and saved us a lot of money.
Yeah,
when
Coach
we were
Kelly,
young and broke.
Coach Kelly, rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
But I tell you what, he was a pit bull. So anybody who was going through a marriage, divorce, and if anybody ever asked me, I said, just go to Kelly, man. He'll fight tooth and nail for you. But he also defended some pretty raunchy dudes in this world, too. I was sat in the courtroom a few times watching him. I'm like, how could you possibly even say anything nice about this person?
Yep.
You know what I mean? But he
He
said,
was
you
a
know what,
tyrant.
Lance? It's the job. Everybody deserves their day in court.
When I ran residence halls, the guys would get in a little bit of trouble every now and then in the residence hall, and I'd bring them in and say, boys, either you and I can fix this or I can call Coach K. Which one you want to do? And it was always, Jimmy, let's just fix it here. They did not want the wrath of Bill Kelly.
The wrath of Bill Kelly, man. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
It
was brutal.
It was good stuff. So,
Yep.
hey, you got anything else today?
No, thanks for being here. I appreciate you always. Appreciate Maddie doing this, and it's good stuff. Carlton Bogus, my friend
before
from
we get
Dennis.
out of here, before we get out of here, I meant to bring this up. Texas Tech coach, come on, Joey McGuire. Tech is lined up to kick a winning field goal, okay, or they're getting in position. You let a quarterback who has done a great job, but he's Opie. He looks like Opie out there. Look at his face when you see him play. He's Opie. Okay? You don't let him try to close out the game to put your team in position. You don't do that. You have an All-American running back, Taj Brooks. I don't even care if you're the fifth string running back. Why did you get a scholarship at Tech? Because you're a running back who knows how to hold on to the ball in all these violent collisions. You're not Opie trying to run back into the line. He fumbles. TCU wins. I think that was on Coach Joey McGuire.
Yeah, it was. That was a tough loss.
Not tough. It was stupid.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trying to be nice. I get it.
No, don't be nice. That guy makes a couple of million a year.
I wish you were still writing for the paper because that'd be a great story.
Yeah. No, the kid's going to be a great quarterback. I don't mean to, but he does look like Opie out there, and
they all do. They're all babies out there.
Well, no, he actually has the Opie look. Okay, the baby face of all baby faces. So just wanted to bring that up. I should have done that earlier. I apologize for that.
My friend Carlton Bogus in Dumas, I'm going to get a text message from him Tuesday sometime. He always calls, tell us something, and I told him we're going to have him on. He's a wealth of knowledge. He's a smart guy, good guy, and we'd have a lot of fun with Carlton. So I told him we're going to have him out, and he specifically said, I really want to meet Lance.
That's cool.
So
that'll be a lot of fun. I look forward to that.
I said I can make that happen.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people that would like to meet you that I know, so we'll maybe make that happen as well. Okay, yeah.
Cool, thanks.
Hey, thanks a lot for joining us today. We love chatting it up. Like I said earlier, if you have any guests you want us to bring on, let us know, and we'll let you know about that. So once again, thanks a lot, Maddie out there. Jimmy, already thank you, but 1,000 thank yous aren't enough for what Maddie does for making us. It's really fun to watch.
She makes our organization look incredible.
Yeah, she is incredible. So, Hey, this was the Fieldhouse Podcast. We'll see you soon.